Aloha and welcome everyone. My name is Shannon Flynn and I am the Behavioral Health Supervisor for Nuku'alofa or Kamehameha Schools Preschools, and I am here today to present to you our fourth Ohana Talk Story session of the summer. And our topic today is supporting your Keiki's anxiety and worries. So with that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to start the slideshow and we will get rolling. So mahalo for being here. We have done a number of these sessions. You can watch the past recordings on our website and also on our YouTube channel. This PowerPoint will also be accessible through our website along with the list of the links from this PowerPoint. So if you want to come back to those and get the full list of links later, or access any of that information, that is where you can find it. So thank you for being here. So our goals for today are to define stress, worry, and anxiety. We are going to identify and recognize the stress that we are all facing, along with the stress, anxiety, and worries that our Keiki are facing. We're also going to get to learn strategies and ways to help Keiki manage these concerns, and discuss supports for helping Keiki to return to school. So we know that is quickly approaching upon us. So let's start with talking more about the differences between anxiety, worries, and stress, oh my. So I should have really listed this slide as stress, worry, and anxiety, oh my, to talk about it in the reverse order. We're going to start with stress. Stress is basically how the brain and body respond to any demand or challenge, and that is a definition from the National Institute of Mental Health. Stress affects everyone, and it's good to keep in mind that not all stress is bad. You know, stress can really help us in pressure situations. It can help us to meet deadlines. It can help us to understand different safety concerns. So stress isn't always bad. And it is something that really does affect everyone, no matter your age, no matter any other factor. Stress affects everyone. It affects us all differently though, and how we respond to stress can be different too. The part of stress that's bad is that long-term or chronic stress, or stress that occurs over and over again, isn't going away. That is the stress that is really not good and not healthy for us. And we want to really learn to help to manage our stress. We want to help ourselves with how we navigate through the stressors that arise in our lives, and also how we can help our Keiki to manage their stress. So now we're going to move on to worries. So worries are more of the thoughts in our heads and in our minds. There's kind of those thought bubbles that come up about what if this happens, what if that happens, like, oh no, I can't stop thinking about like everyone getting COVID, or, you know, am I going to be able to go outside next week? Those sorts of things are more of the worries. They're more temporary, and it's a normative psychological state for us to worry about things. Same as with stress. You know, it's normal for us to worry. It's normal for us to have stress. It's how we manage those things. And then there's anxiety, and anxiety is a reaction and response to the stress and also to the worries. So it's kind of that persistent, excessive worrying, that worrying that doesn't go away, even in the absence of the stressor. So when we have these worries and the stress piled upon us, you know, eventually over time, some of those stress goes away. Now, there is stress that is always there, and so it's learning to manage that again. But even at times when the stressor goes away, if we continue to be excessively worried about things and this persistent ongoing concerns with it, that is more at the level of anxiety. So a good way to kind of factor all this in is that worry happens in your mind, stress happens in your body, and anxiety happens in both your mind and your body. And I think that's a really great way for us to kind of conceptualize all those different pieces and how they impact each other and interact. So the current state of stress, there is so much stress right now for everyone. And unfortunately, the stress that we're under isn't going away anytime soon, and it could be around for quite some time. With COVID-19, things are closing and opening and things are closing again. And there's so many unknowns of, what's going to be open next week or what the different rules and regulations are going to be around, going to the store or going to the park or what could change. Just the unknowns are really challenging. There's so much uncertainty, and there continues to be, and probably will be. And there's the other stressors that go along with things. We all have our normal daily stressors going on, but there's an exceedingly amount now of financial stressors, of health concerns, of jobs, of schools, of schedules, of managing all of your Keiki and everything at home. There's just so much stress when you really factor it in and lay it all out, just all the stressors we're facing. There's a lot. So, the first is to really identify and accept and grasp that fact that we're living in stressful times. And unfortunately, it isn't going away anytime soon. So really, again, that learning to manage the stress is what is key. We don't want it leading to excessive worry. We don't want it building to the point of anxiety and things being out of control for us mentally and physically. And we need to help our Keiki through these times. It's difficult for them too. This is affecting everybody at every age, including our Keiki. And so we want to help support them through these stressful times too. So this first video clip I'm going to show you, some of you may have seen this already, but it's just from a 4-year-old's perspective about how this is just such a challenging situation that we're under and just so distraught about how everything is closed. I'm not sure if that's going to work, so I might have to just click out of this PowerPoint and into here to show you. So here we go. This is stress from a 4-year-old's perspective on this stressful situation that we're in.
Now everything in this world has to shut all the way down to nobody has to go anywhere because of their shutdown. The ice cream truck is shut down, and the water truck place is shut down, which is my favorite part because it is my favorite one.
What's that?
Yeah, it has the gumball one where there's gunballs and there's like blues. And now they have to shut all the way down and we can't go anywhere. Not even McDonald's, which is my favorite restaurant.
You can pick up McDonald's in the drive-thru.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can. You can go in the drive-thru, but you can't go on the playground.
Yeah, it's just really frustrating. If you go through the drive-thru, it's just boring because you have to wait for your food to come. And if you're inside playing on the playground, it wouldn't be boring. And now they have to shut down. It's just boring when you wait for food to come. And now everything in this town has to shut all the way down. And I just don't want it to do that. I mean, why would germs come around to people if they don't want germs to come around to them?
I know.
Because everyone doesn't like germs because they get sick and everything has to be shut down for everybody to be safe.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair because everything that is fun also has to be shut down.
Yeah.
And the only thing that is open is nothing. Nothing.
Except homes and cars.
Nothing. Yeah, and actually maybe church too. We can't go to church.
Yeah, and it's just really fun.
We're going home church, so that's why we're doing church on the TV, right?
Yeah, but the real church is Heroes Academy, and you get to get candy and toys. And if you have a big number, you can get 2.
Wow.
Like Play-Doh, candy. And once I got that fish kind, and it's just I only wanted to have fun with Play-Doh, so I bought it, and now everything in this world has to be shut down. It's not fair because my parents.
I'm sorry. It's a lot, huh? And it won't last forever.
Yeah, just for a few weeks.
Yeah.
But we're doing it so everybody can be safe, right?
Well, tomorrow will I be able to play on my iPad?
Okay, so just a cute video, but just about how stress impacts our Keiki also. And, you know, it really is, everything is shut down. You know, how many of us have had kind of those breakdowns through this process that, you know, feeling just frustrated and upset, whether it's stuff being shut down or not being able to follow your normal regular plans and just all those stressful pieces. So just wanted to share that for a little humor and cute clip of what it's like from a child's perspective and the stress that they're feeling in this situation. And also to talk about, you know, I think that the family in that does a really good job of just letting her express herself and helping her to recognize and identify that it's because we want everybody to be safe. You know, we really want to help our Keiki to express themselves, to express their feelings and let them get it out and then help them to find ways to cope with it along with finding our own coping strategies and coping mechanisms so that we can get through these difficult times also. So now to move on a little bit and talking about helping Keiki more with the stress. Really, this all begins with you. It is so important for you to be able to manage your own stress as a parent, as a grandparent, as a kumu, no matter who you are in a Keiki's life, but being able to manage your own stress is super important so that you're able to enter a situation in a positive manner when they're stressed and having trouble and you're able to manage your own self. It helps you to set a positive example for your Keiki and your Ohana. Model appropriate reactions and responses to dealing with difficult situations. And self-care, that's so important to be taking care of ourselves because again, you know, it's like the glass half full, half empty. If we're not filling our cup up, you know, we can't help and fill anybody else's cup up. So it's hard to take care of others when we're not taking care of ourselves first. So just want to challenge you all to think about what are you doing for your own self-care or what can you start doing as self-care and ways to manage your stress. There's some suggestions on each of these images that I had put on this slide. Self-care can be, you know, saying no and setting boundaries and, you know, taking a step back from things, finding ways that you can fill your cup up. You know, it's deep breathing, it's taking some time to calm, maybe practicing some mindfulness or meditation, or time in your garden, connecting with the Aina, you know, whatever it is that really works to help you to relieve your stress. I really encourage you to find those things and do those things when you can, so that you are able to take care of you and take care of those around you. So next I want to talk about identifying and recognizing anxiety in Keiki and what this may look like. And I want to first state that this is not a comprehensive list on things, nor am I saying that if your Keiki does a lot of these things, that this means that they have anxiety and they need to get serious help. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm just saying is presenting you with this information of some signs and symptoms of what anxiety will look like, you know, even what some of that stress will look like. To help you to recognize it and then to help to support your Keiki through it. So some emotional signs are, you know, just that excessive worry or sadness, being overly emotional and sensitive, more than they normally are. So, you know, some Keiki are always more emotional and sensitive than others. And so it's knowing kind of that baseline of where your child is and children around you. To know that then, you know, if a Keiki is all of a sudden way more emotional, way more sensitive to things, there might be something more going on. If they become grouchy or angry without any clear reason, afraid of making mistakes, having frequent nightmares or sleep disturbances. You know, sleep can be a big thing, as we know from our own perspective, that sleep is often something impacted when we're stressed and when we're anxious. And so, you know, that's a common sign that we can see in our Keiki. So some physical signs are headaches or stomach aches without any medical reason, changing in eating habits or refusing to eat. Again, having trouble sleeping or changes in sleep patterns or habits. Bathrooming troubles or changes in bathrooming and toileting that you didn't see before, maybe some regression in that. Being restless or fidgety, hyperactive or distracted. You know, sometimes anxiety can look like some of those ADHD or ADD symptoms. that they can have that hyperactive impulsivity, that restlessness, that inattention piece sometimes can come from anxiety. So just to bring that up to your attention. If they start to shake or sweat in intimidating situations or constantly tense their muscles, some behavioral signs. You might see some meltdowns or tantrums. Difficulty again with the attention or concentration. Asking what if constantly. Avoiding social situations with others. Staying inside alone, especially if they're a Keiki that normally wants to be out playing with others, normally wants to be around others. That can be a big sign of them having some anxiety and stress around things. Remaining silent or preoccupied when expected to do things with others. Refusing to go to school or constantly seeking approval from adults. So again, this is not an exclusive list. This is not a list saying that if you see some of these signs and symptoms in your Keiki that there's major concerns. It's more of just letting you know this information and just kind of what to look out for, that, your Keiki might be more stressed or anxious than you realize if there's some of these things or many of these things going on that you're recognizing. So this next clip I'm going to show you is, again, about anxiety and just how it can trigger us into a kind of fight, flight, or freeze response. This video clip is labeled as it's for children. I'm not sure it's the most, or I don't think it's most appropriate for our preschool Keiki. Maybe some of our kind of older and elementary and up, but it just, I think it's a good video to share with you all, because it's a good way that you can use some of these pieces from it to explain to kids what anxiety is. And I think it does a good job of summarizing it in a 2-minute clip of anxiety and what it does to our bodies, which is why I wanted to share it with you.
You know that scared or nervous feeling you get when you have to do something you're not sure you can do? Or go somewhere you've never been before? That feeling is called anxiety. And it can feel a bit different for each person, but it usually doesn't feel very nice. Maybe your palms get sweaty, or your body tenses up, or maybe you get a tummy ache. Maybe you've heard of anxiety, or maybe you haven't, but you've definitely felt it before. Because everyone feels it sometimes. It's normal. You want to know something really weird about anxiety? It's actually trying to help you. It's true. All those uncomfortable feelings, those happen because your brain thinks you're in danger and it wants to protect you. When our muscles tense up and we sweat, it gets us ready to do a lot of exercise, which is helpful if you need to jump out of the way of a runaway train or wrestle a wolverine. Sometimes our minds go blank and we feel like we can't move or talk. That would be great if we needed to hide. Instead, we just feel stuck. When your brain does this, it's called fight, flight, or freeze. The problem is, sometimes your brain gets confused and it can't tell the difference between a charging moose and, say, going to a new school. Both things can be scary and cause anxiety. But there aren't any dangerous wild animals at a new school, hopefully. Understanding where anxiety comes from is the first step in learning to deal with it. So the next time you're in one of those tough situations and you start to feel those feelings, like butterflies in your stomach or sweaty palms, or it gets hard to talk or move, remember, there's nothing wrong with your body. You're just having normal feelings of anxiety, and they're actually trying to help, even if they're not very good at it sometimes.
Okay, so just like I said, just wanted to share that for a better understanding of anxiety and what it does to our bodies. I don't think it's, like I said, the best for our preschoolers to watch, but I think it's good for you to have that understanding. And if you have other Keiki who are older that you think it might be good for, I think that would be, I think it's a great clip that kind of summarizes things very well. So moving on, what to do when Keiki are anxious. So we really want to help our Keiki to manage their anxiety. The goal isn't to eliminate the anxiety or stressor, but to help them to cope with it. Because the reality is we're not always going to be able to take away the stressors. We're not always going to be able to take away those things that make them worried, that make them stressed or anxious. We really want to give them the life skills and help them to figure out how they can manage those feelings and emotions when they come up. We don't want to avoid things. We want to help to normalize their concerns. So letting them know that, it's normal to be worried about going back to school. Most kids worry about going back to school because it's something new again, it's different. Things are going to be new and different this year. Letting them know that they're not the only one that feels that way and that it's okay to feel that way. We really want to express positive but realistic expectations. So we want to keep things as positive as possible, but we also want to make it real for them and realistic of what can happen. Really want to respect and reflect on their feelings. So, again, it's normalizing those feelings and helping them to identify how they're feeling and express it, but respect that that's their feelings and, reflect back on it that, I know you're feeling really worried about it, so what can we do about that? Like, how can we handle those worries? And problem solve together. That can be really helpful. Try to be proactive. Thinking ahead of time of, that first day back to school is going to be really tough. So how can we help to make it go better? Maybe you can bring a special bracelet that I wear so that you can remember that I'm always with you. Maybe we can practice some deep breaths before we get out of the car, and we can practice them now or each day in the morning to help us so that we're able to calm our body when we need to, when we get worried going into school each day. Those things can be really, really helpful and supportive for kids. Try to avoid leading questions, but ask open-ended questions when they're expressing themselves and when things come up. So what I mean about that is leading questions are any questions where you're kind of guiding that person or individual in a certain direction. Really what we want to do is ask more open-ended. So tell me about how you're feeling, or, what do you think would be the best thing we can do in this situation? Those are more open-ended, where you're leaving that response very open for the individual to respond and give more of an answer in a direction they might go, rather than guiding them or leading them in a certain direction. And those are things that are really helpful even with our young Keiki, because we sometimes have a certain perception in our head of how they're feeling or what they're thinking or what they're going to do, but we don't always really know, and we want to give them the opportunity to share, and then when they do share, we can reflect on it. And then we really want to model healthy ways of handling anxiety. We want to set those standards for our Keiki of how, when we're stressed and anxious, how we handle that. And so, showing them and sharing with them that, you're kind of worried about them going back to school too, because you're not sure what it's going to be like, and so you've been trying to think about, and that, the school wants to do everything they can to keep them really safe. And so, they're going to give us more information and tell us more about it so that we can help for everybody to stay safe. Letting them know that at times where you are really stressed, that, that expressing that to them, I'm really stressed because I'm running really late today, and you need to be somewhere, and I need to be somewhere. And so, it's making mommy really stressed. So let's take some deep breaths together so it calms all of us down to get in the car. Just those things, and helping them to see how you handle the stress, and appropriate ways that you're doing that will really help your Keiki in the long run. So some strategies to help Keiki manage anxiety, worries, and stress. So deep breathing, this has been in a bunch of past sessions that I've done for these Ohana Talk Story sessions. So if you're interested in more deep breathing strategies, please look back. There's a lot of information materials that I've shared. A common one for deep breathing that we use in the classroom is to smell the flower and blow out the candle. So you pretend you have a flower in your hand and you smell it, and you blow out the candle. Deep breathing is great. It helps to calm our entire brain, body, nervous system. It gets us back to a relaxed state. And something so simple can be really helpful, not only for us, but really for our Keiki too. And there's tons of kids' deep breathing strategies. You can do it as a balloon. You can be a dinosaur, a dragon. You can be as creative as possible and even make up different deep breathing. Practicing deep breathing with Keiki is really important at times where they are more calm. So a time like before bedtime to help where you want to help calm down their body, but they're not in a really high energy state, like being very anxious or very angry when you're practicing it is not going to be the most helpful. The same is for us when we're angry and somebody tells us to calm down, like it's not helpful. So we really want to practice with Keiki at a time where they're more calm. Like before bedtime is a great example to help calm down our body, but we're probably already partly calm, you know, in a calm state, relaxed state anyways. But the more you practice deep breathing, the more it's going to help them to actually use it when they're in a situation that they need it. The other piece about deep breathing that I always like to suggest is to, when you practice it, to practice at least 3 times. So really I should have done the candle and the breath with you guys 3 times, not just once. There's something about 3s and the patterns in our brain and how we remember things that if we do it at least 3 times, and 3 being that minimal number, it helps us to remember things better. So I would suggest with Keiki really practicing it 3 times every time you do the deep breathing. And there's different mindfulness strategies. So basically mindfulness is helping us to be mindful and aware of everything around us. And this is again a approach that really helps with and a coping skill that really helps with anxiety or with any time our energy levels in our nervous system might be totally off and we want to calm it down. So it's just practicing being mindful. So a good quick strategy for this that you can do is mindfulness really has to do with all the 5 senses. So it's using those 5 senses and engaging your Keiki in an applicable manner to help calm them. So you know you can do let's identify 5 things we can see right now, 4 things we can touch right now, 3 things we can smell, 2 things we can hear, and maybe 1 thing we can taste. You don't have to do all 5 things. You don't have to do it in that order or with those numbers matched up to those senses. That's actually, I just kind of paired those together just thinking about it right now. But this is a great strategy that kind of brings you back in that moment to help you be mindful. It's also very grounding and very centering and calming. So suggest doing that with your Keiki. You can even do just a 3, 2, 1. You can even just do pick 1 thing and list 5, but that can be a helpful strategy. There's so many other coping strategies too, and coping skills and strategies are actually different for a lot of people. So, you know, for some people, like, you know, having a stress ball and squeezing it can be helpful. You know, I've worked with kids who, you know, tearing up scrap paper kind of helps to get out that physical component of getting some energy out. You know, for some, it's more coloring or drawing or going for a walk or running around. But it's finding what works for your Keiki that's really helpful, and then helping to remind them at times where they're stressed and anxious, let's go use one of those coping skills, one of those strategies to help us to calm our bodies now. You want to be as supportive as possible. So again, using reflective statements, you know, reflecting back on what you're seeing and what they're expressing. Accepting that you know it's okay to feel this way, and really helping them to accept that they feel that way, and then problem solving together. So coming up with things you can do and helping them through the situation together is super powerful. So these are just some great different clip arts from the internet that I use a lot that I think are helpful. 10 tips to parent your anxious child. I'm not going to go through each one because a lot of these are similar to what I just shared with you guys, but I'll keep it up here for a minute so you can read and look through. The one on the right just makes it really simple. It talks about some other different things though too, so I will identify some of these. So, you know, establishing routines is really important. Make sure your child gets enough sleep. Morning routines are really important. Appropriate exposure to things. You know, we don't want to hide and shelter our Keiki from everything. You know, that can sometimes make the anxiety worse. Don't provide too much reassurance. You know, we want to have the balance of helping them through the situation and accepting it, but not overly reassuring. Don't let things go for too long. Give deeper thought, educate yourself. And, you know, at the end of all this, if there is excessive worry and you have serious concerns for you, for somebody you know, for your Keiki, consider seeing an expert. You know, reach out to someone. You can reach out to myself. You can reach out to a school counselor. You can reach out to your PUMU. You can reach out to your pediatrician, primary care provider. You know, talk to someone though, especially if you are concerned about your Keiki and you feel like their anxiety is getting worse, or you know, it is at that level of being excessively worried. You know, reach out for some assistance and support. We are here to help you. And there are so many people around that want to help you. Please remember that. So some different anxiety and worry clips on YouTube. Some of these are different stories being read on YouTube that I just think are great ways to work with kids on worrying and stress and anxiety. So Ruby Finds a Worry is actually a book, and I'm sharing it in the next slide too. I have a slide of different books that are some of my favorites. Again, this is not a all-inclusive list of video clips and books to check out. These are just some of my favorites that I found that I wanted to share with you guys today. There's tons of other ones, so please know that there's a lot of great resources out there. I just, in the time frame we had, I just wanted to present some to you. So Ruby Finds a Worry is a great book about Ruby and her worry, and there's actually another one about it too. I think it's Ruby's Worries. Let's see. Which other ones are books? So the Don't Worry book by Todd Parr is a great one, and then Jack's Worry and Don't Worry Bear, all stories being read. You could also get the book or from the library and read that with your Keiki. Sesame Street, Zach Braff and Telly Are Anxious is a good one. It's a clip where they're both having these feelings and they're not sure what it is, and they talk about what feeling anxious is like. Tom has separation anxiety. If I remember correctly, is one about he's going to school and he's really worried and doesn't want to leave his mom. It's a cute clip to watch. Also, teaching your child to stop worrying is another great little cartoon clip about worrying, and they're worried about going outside and they don't know what they want to do, and they're having trouble making decisions, and kind of get the support to work through that situation. Then some other books. So the Don't Worry book I listed on here again by Todd Parr. Todd Parr, if you don't know who he is or if that name does sound familiar to you, he's a children's author that does very colorful, creative stories. So he's got the family book and the feelings book and the mommy book and the daddy book, and then there's this one more recent, the Don't Worry book, that's great. So he's got a lot of great books out there though. Ruby Finds a Worry and Ruby's Worries. Ruby's Worry. Wimberly Worry, that's another great one. Wilma Jean and the Worry Machine by Julia Cook. Julia Cook is another great children's author. A lot of her stuff is really geared towards elementary age, but I think there are also great stories that she has that can be used for preschool also, especially for Keiki who can sit through longer stories. Her stuff is good and it's very engaging. The Worry Box is another good one. Anxious Ninja by Mary Min. So Mary Min is an author that I found recently that has all these ninja books. So if you have kids who like ninjas, they're awesome. There's like the Angry Ninja and the Positive Ninja and the Tired Ninja, I think was one. And so there's one on anxiety, and it's the Anxious Ninja. That's really cool. And then Take a Deep Breath I actually have it right here by Sue Graves. It's actually one of my favorite books for preschoolers. She's got a series, there's other ones too, and it basically goes through different scenarios where the child is feeling anxious or scared, or they're intimidated by situations and not sure what to do, and so they work on taking a deep breath. And so when I do it with Keiki, we practice the deep breaths as we're reading it in those scenarios in the story. And then it's really cute because at the end of the story, there's a class and a teacher, and the spider starts crawling across the classroom or on the teacher, and the teacher kind of gets all scared and worried. And so the class basically tells her to take deep breaths. And so it's a great one. This author's really good on emotions and feelings and behaviors for preschoolers. So check that out. So ways to support your Keiki around anxiety returning to school. Again, really we want to normalize that it's everybody's kind of worried about going back to school and how it's going to be. You want to help to start with your own anxiety, manage your own self-care, make sure that you're in a good place so that you are able to support your Keiki. Prepare Keiki for what lies ahead. Talk to them about school and any concerns they may have. You know, find out what their worries are about school and talk through what school's going to be like. You know, there's a video and lots of videos and social stories that can help to prepare them. If you need some great resources, I have some that I can share. We're also working on a video and a social story from Nukula Kamali'i from Kamehameha Preschools to that's going to go out, and it goes through kind of what coming to school is going to be like now, from the temperature check coming in to like how the classroom's going to be and just different things. So it was compiled at a bunch of our different preschools, and so there's different clips in there, and just a really great way to help prepare, I think, all Ohana and everyone for what coming to school is going to look like. So the more that we can help to prepare ourselves and prepare our Keiki for what things are going to look like and how it's going to be, can help to reduce and relieve that stress and anxiety and worries that could be presenting or could be escalating, you know, because that's not what we want to happen. Begin school routines and structure and expectations now. You know, go over those things with your Keiki about what it's going to be like. You know, start the bedtime routines as close as you can to what bedtime is going to be like when school starts, and the morning routines. Starting those things now, and we're still a few weeks off from school starting, will help to make those transitions for when school starts easier. And so that'll relieve some stress and worry and anxiety off of your Keiki, and also off of you, because it'll be easier when school starts. Work with your kumu and school on how to support your Keiki. So, you know, really talk to your kumu about the concerns that are coming up, even, you know, at your first meetings with them and home visits virtually. You know, really talk through these things, because that can help. You know, don't hesitate to ask for more help and support if you need it for you or for your Keiki. We're here to help and support and want to help you through this. So just this last little visual that I wanted to share, it's 6 tips to help your anxious kid gain the confidence of a superhero. So the first thing is to really just connect with them. When your child feels anxious, you know, just connecting with them, helping them to calm down and being present and being there with them is so powerful and helpful. Tell them to talk back to their worries and not to you. So, you know, that's kind of a great coping skill and strategy to work on worries, is letting your Keiki know that, you know, they control those thoughts in their head. And so those worries that are there, they can tell them to stop. They can tell them to go away and leave them alone. That can be really helpful, so that in times when those do pop up and you're not there with them, that they can do that on their own and know that they're in control of their thoughts and their body. Show them the way. So again, this is all about kind of setting that example for them. Show them how you tolerate those strong feelings and set that example for them so that they know the positive choice to make when they're feeling that way. Breathe. So, you know, that deep breathing, how it helps to calm our nervous system and get us back to a state of self-regulation, practicing that with them. And don't avoid. You know, again, we don't want to avoid the stress, the anxiety. These are things that are going to face our Keiki throughout their life. So we want to help give them the skills and tools, and we want to support them through things now so that that doesn't escalate into a bigger problem. And then the end of this just shows kind of where I had gotten this, this poster from. But really it talks about, you know, if you feel like there's bigger concerns, talk to a professional, reach out to someone. You know, like I shared before, talk to your kumu, talk to school counselor, talk to your popepo okumu. You can reach out to myself, talk to your pediatrician, primary care physician. You know, there's lots of people who are around and care, and so just talking to somebody about things can help, and reaching out to a professional if there are bigger concerns going on. You know, don't hesitate to get help. There's lots of people out there who do want to help and care for you and your Keiki. So that's all I have for you today. Mahalo for your time. On this last slide, I just have the our NKK website and our YouTube link. All of these sessions are recorded separately from our actual live talk story sessions, but you can always go back and review them on either of those locations. On our website, we also have these PowerPoints connected with the video clip and a link to a Word document that has all the resources and links that I shared throughout this presentation today. So mahalo for your time and being here. I hope everyone is safe and healthy out there and continues to do well. So mahalo, aloha, and hui hou.